Welcome back to Made Up of Wires. Today we're decompiling Sonic 3 attached to Sonic and Knuckles with lock-on technology attached to the Game Genie. Oh, that's really out of focus. It's there. Hey, Pepika Giga Chad. Good to have you back. We're decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night. It's going pretty good. Getting over some back pain, but that's about all. Actually, I got some stuff done. Talk about that quick, and then we'll get back to Doppelganger. Still need to do a few things with some of the common stuff there. Oh, and of course, because that's the way life goes, all of my background tabs are going to start playing. I have to go take care of those so they don't eat up all my CPU. Keep like hundreds of background tabs open. Quite literally. And seems like whenever OBS starts, they start reloading. There's a bunch of YouTube videos in there. And there they go. 1 second. 2 different Yuzo Koshiro videos. I didn't realize that he did Etrian Odyssey until just recently. Alright, so we're working on Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Go to soten.c.dev and you can learn more about that. For a long time I threatened to put out a PR for Reverse Top that we did on the channel, and I finally got that out. It's still not going to be in this this list until that is finally out. But we'll get that in eventually. We've been working on the Richter boss, which is BO6. That also is not in here. What I'd like to do is finish out all of the common code, get as much of that checked in or finished as possible, and then we'll get progress up for that as well, because it's going to take a while. It's not going to be a quick fix by any stretch of the imagination. So what else has been going on? I'm going to build this in the background, make sure everything's looking good. So there are 2 other related projects that I spent some time on this weekend. I've not worked in these areas in the past, and I've worked on some other projects in the decomp world, and so I'm familiar with some of the people who contribute and have created these other ones, but I haven't contributed to these before. So the first one was MWCC Gap. I talked about this a little bit. Let's find that. Why is that not showing up? I'll find it yet. Yeah, it is MWCC Gap. It should show up in GitHub. Not sure why it's not popping up there. MWCC Gap. If you're not familiar, we'll go grab it from Soten Decomps. It's such a secret project that you could only get it from our submodules. I mean, it is actually a project. Written by Mark Street of decomp.me and Super Mario 64 fame. So this is, it sits on top of the MetroWorks C compiler, and it basically acts as a wrapper. We use these include ASM macros, and this mentions Shippa Theseus, which allow us to implement one function at a time and find matching decomps for one function at a time. MetroWorks doesn't support the same kind of inline assembly that GCC does, and this kind of acts as a bridge and rewrites, does actually some wild stuff to rewrite it. But actually I should, no, actually this doesn't list the the MetroWorks option, so it doesn't matter. So I wanted to add MD, MMD, and GCC dep support here. And what those do, and I've talked about this the past couple of weeks, they write dependency files so that when we're doing our Ninja builds, we can look at the source file that created this dependency file. It'll emit all of the includes, and which include all the headers and all the other things like that. And then Ninja can look at that and intelligently rebuild the things that need to be rebuilt. So the way MWCC gap works is it creates these temporary directories where it does the build, and the way MD, MMD with GCC dep option work is they will, MetroWorks will put a file in that temporary directory. After the compilation is done, that temporary directory gets blown away. And so before that happens, you got to go in, find that dependency file. And then MetroWorks CC for PSP is a Windows program. So all the paths in there are Windows paths to a pseudo file system that is done by Weibo. Long story short, we have to convert all those paths as well so that they make sense to something that the Linux host that's running these will work on. And it all works. It's pretty nice. The other one is Weibo, which we use to cool commit hash. What is the hash? It is kind of a cool commit hash, I agree. I tried real. The other one is Weibo. Weibo's a bonkers project too. All these projects are bonkers. I can't believe how smart people are. The intelligence that goes into decompiling for something that is like ultimately like probably one of the most trivial things in the world. Hey Dizik, good to have you back. Back on YouTube. You don't just slum it on Twitch on your small screen. The Weibo change is hey George, good to have you. The Weibo change is much simpler. So Weibo is, what's the right way? Like a very mini wine. So it has a very minimal implementation of the Windows functions necessary to run command line programs, Windows command line programs, which is crazy in itself. But one of the things that it didn't support, and I just thought would be nice to add, is finding those programs in the path. Let's see if this has an example. Basically, you run Weibo. It doesn't have an example, but so you run Weibo, and then currently you have to put the full path to the Windows executable you want to run. And of course, I don't have Weibo in my path. But that lets you run some DOS programs, a minimal set of DOS programs. DOS, technically it's probably a Windows 32 command line program. Because it is 2006, and nobody's running DOS in 2006. So we want to be able to run, what I wanted to be able to do is two things. One, if this is in my path, so if I set up my path correctly to include my local bin, and I can run Weibo like this, then I should be able to run MWCC PSP.exe like that as well, but Weibo can't find that. So the first thing was just giving path support to Weibo. What is a little strange is that, as far as I can tell, the C library, like the standard C libc POSIX library, does not include any utility functions for finding things in the path. The implementation is pretty simple, but it's not a built-in function, which is kind of bizarre. It's implemented by exec and that family of functions that basically replaces your program with another program. The other thing that I wanted to do, so related to that MWCC gap change, I found myself having to convert all these Weibo Windows paths, which are all on the Z drive, and then the standard fully qualified path on the Linux host. Hey, thank you, Nir. Really appreciate it. So we want to convert those back to Unix paths. And so how do we do that? We don't do it very easily. So in MWCC gap, basically, I re-implemented how Weibo does path translation in Python, which is fine. But if Weibo could do that for us, that would be great too. So I made just a few options here, so that if I want user bin, it'll be like bin ls would be a program. Oh, why doesn't this version of Weibo do this? Yeah, there we go. I just had the wrong option. DOS path, that's what I wanted. Can't remember my own thing. So this will give you something like that, and then we can round trip it, which, watch this fail. So Unix to DOS, and this should give us the right thing, and it doesn't, of course. Oh, we'll fix that. Oh, because I'm converting it twice, of course. Wrong option there. We're back to ls then. So just two convenience options in Weibo to convert those paths. That's all. So let's get back to the star of the show, which is, of course, Doppelganger. So we've been working on Doppelganger. I wanted to look at init, which is where all of the entity update functions will be. From init, I'm hoping that we can find the main Doppelganger entry point, and that should include the state machine that controls Doppelganger, Richter. We're going to look at Doppelganger, though, too, to try to get as much of this as possible. Give me 1 second again while I shut down all my YouTube tabs. I mute all the tabs and then they keep playing anyway. I mentioned before that YouTube likes to restart all of its videos when I start up OBS, of course. OBS, surprisingly, had all of my windows correct, which was nice. And I didn't have to really do much. Oh my goodness, there's so many things. I have like 7 different tabs with videos playing. Hey, dig down deep. Stream died? Maybe. No, I'm just I'm on another screen pausing a million videos. Oh my goodness, they just keep starting. They just keep starting. Oh, too many tabs, too many tabs. I was in the video game Esoterica. What is that program called? Discord. They seem to have a prototype for some PS2 game. I was hoping to be able to help with it, but it seems like you might have gotten other help. So be on the lookout for a new PS2 prototype, unreleased prototype. We're back. All right, here we go. All right, so we want to look at Interesting. If you have a link to that, that would be great. So somewhere, let me see if I can find it quickly. Somewhere I have a list of all of the known versions, which is more than I expected. Let's grab this quickly. Hopefully it's downloaded. And do I have... I did this from the Game on Expo talk. I wasn't. So there are versions that I've not looked at yet. Definitely. And so it's possible that one or more of those is a good candidate for putting Russian in. Ah, I'm here somewhere. So as far as I know, so was this in the PSP or PlayStation days? So, like back in the PlayStation days, there is a Hong Kong version, which probably has a bit more space. I'm assuming it's not in English, and so that may or may not have been easier to like replace Cyrillic characters with. I don't know. I've never seen that version anywhere. I keep an eye out for the various versions that when they show up on eBay. Because I like to have as many as I can get my hand on. But I've never seen the Hong Kong version in the wild. And yeah, if there's a ROM for the Russian version, that'd be fun to find. It's being already not sanctioned. It'd probably be less upsetting to have a bootleg of that. All right, so ASM US Boss BO6. Oh, where's our BO6? sprintf, that was checked in. I talked about that last week as well. That's very cool. Now we have our BO6 stuff here. Are we building? Oh, we're not building. Let's do a clean and build again. Oh, maybe my I see, my rebase failed. I had a version of sprintf that I was working on, and let's just get that from master. There we go. I don't know, like, so Ninja is still something I'm not terribly familiar with, and I haven't looked into the details too closely except to do the dependency tracking. I would be interested to know how it does ordering. So something like that, the main build failed, and so the entire build failed. But main only, there's a dependency on the check hash, which does this nice printout here. On obviously that could fail and this wouldn't work, but everything else does not have a dependency on that directly. I kind of want to change that for other reasons, but currently it doesn't have that. And so why doesn't Ninja keep building? Like what causes it to stop early? I don't know. Anybody who knows Ninja, let me know in chat. iWillcraft said, as weird as it sounds, I think it's somewhat normal that games had unofficial Russian translation. Silent Hill got one. And is dated a few days earlier than US retail. I don't know if this is true. This is something that I assumed to be true back in like the Napster. Was it there was a Russian MP3 service, and they claimed to be outside of any US jurisdiction, and I never knew if that was true or not. This was like early 2000s. I still don't know if it's true, but I do remember them making that claim, and they were up for quite a bit longer than a lot of the other MP3 services of the time. So I'm going to start this init split. Init. Thanks for that roaming. Yeah, still getting to know the tool. I'm a curmudgeon and I like my old things. Working on the Python stuff over the weekend. It doesn't have a project.py, which I don't know if that matters or not. And I've seen this in a lot of Python projects. Like, they just expect you to know how to do Python things the Python way. What's the right way to run unit tests? I have no idea. Apparently Python-m unit test. Of course. Why not? That's going to run tests in the test directory, of course. Just throw a makefile in there. Run make. Everybody has it. All right, so we have until 390 here. This is the entity update table. This is where it's going to end. Now we need to find all the inits. And inits can be a little tricky to find the end of, but they're all going to be these 3-word structs. So hopefully the end of that is obvious. It mostly is, but sometimes isn't. We'll see. We got a lot of them here. All right, so the first possible breakpoint is here at this 4D8. Let's look where that is used. It's not too terrible if we get this wrong, but it'd be nice to get it right. All right, so this is referenced around background block in it. So yeah, I think that this is, yeah, it's down here. This is our split here at 4D8. Getting that offset from the first column in the assembly file. I'm not going to give that a name, even though that is looks like background related. The background file should be pretty straightforward to import. The rest of this is einit, and I'm going to break this into two different changes. I'm going to split at 394. I'm also going to call that einit. This will Splat has issues with this. It will only write, what is it, the last one or the first one? I don't know. One of the two. It only writes one of them, and then you don't get all the data. And everything will work fine, but it's hard to debug later. So what should I do here? I'm just going to call this I'll just give it a name that reminds me that I need to import this later. What I want is the entity update table. So that's going to be in source boss v06, and we'll call that init. And these, I like grabbing a example as well. So a bunch of the common functions are all going to be there. So we can go down to at least dummy. Those will all be the same. And actually, background block, entity ID, those will be the same. Possibly, yeah, explosion variance, gray puff, those will all be the same as well. And then it just leaves the others that are specific to Richter. And we'll go back here. So I need to went too far. Need to add a symbol for the entity update table. All right, I think that's enough. No, then I need to actually create the entity update table. Oh, this is actually one too far. So I saw this on RTOP. So this, for whatever reason, SPIM, and I haven't gone back to look why, SPIM breaks this here at 324. The break should be at 328, and that will work correctly. I have no idea why this happens, but I've seen it twice now in basically the last two overlays that I've worked on. So all of these are functions that will be different entities in the Richter boss. We're going to get rid of most of these, and then we have to add declarations for the bottom ones. Not too many entities here, but this will be our starting point for what to work on next. Entities are things that show up on screen, are interactable, as opposed to background tiles. Oh, why didn't you get rid of all those? All right, so that should be enough. Let's see if that works. Yep, that looked good. The other file that's, I don't think it's as important. I don't find it as useful at the start, at least. But it is nice to get done early, is the header, which contains this structure at the front, which is one of three different overlay structures, which one of those three DRA knows. Kind of interesting that it doesn't inspect the stage at all to determine which one it is. It's just hard-coded. Another reason Soten is not an easy game to mod. These other e-inits, I'll do those offline. They're not terribly interesting. These are structures that act as the initialization data for each of these entities. So when you see something like create entity, a call to that function, it'll take one of these sets of data, and that tells it what entity ID it should be, along with some other things. And what entity ID effectively is what index in this table it's going to use. My guess is that, well, I was going to say that Richter is probably the first one. Let's look at BO6 again. Doppelganger actually, or this BO4, I'm sorry. I don't have a specific name for Doppelganger in here. May or may not be likely that entity life up spawn is the last one. No, there isn't a life up at the end of Doppelganger, or at the end of Richter. Sorry, I'm going to keep saying Doppelganger, but just remember, I mean Richter. So let's grab the first one, and we'll start on that. And what we want to see is this comparable to anything in the Richter overlay? Is this its own thing? And we'll go from there. So this is the assembly dump for that. Pretty small. Basically, we're just calling into other functions. Let's go over to decomp.me. Oh. Yes, thank you, Dig Down Deep. Every time I say Doppelganger, hear Richter. Henceforth. Alright, so we have a pretty simple function. I didn't put in the declaration like I should have. Any entity update function as the signature of entity self with a void return type. So let's go grab that. That'll help identify a bunch of the fields. And then we have a bunch of these other functions which we don't know yet, and there'll be new functions. And so we'll have to figure out what those are. We can figure out a few things. All the functions, I'm not worried about the signatures, so I'm just going to get rid of those. That might be surprising if you're not a C programmer. Or maybe if you are more of a loosey-goosey programmer, like a PHP or even Perl. Not having function signatures is okay. Here we have an iterator across entities. This is going to be in the entity update table, or sorry, the entity table, I think. Any of these low globals are probably I want the base set of symbols. So we're going to look for these are in our Richter. This is strange. And this seems like, oh no, that's fine. Never mind. I'm confusing myself. So this is in the Richter entity. That's expected. So let's look at this. This is actually a couple fields past the start of the Richter entity, and so we'll have to get that math right. Everything is compiling well, so I think it's mostly figuring out what each of these pieces of data is. Some of them might be part of the global RIC player state. But I think I'm going to start by redoing this loop, and then we'll go from there. So we're looking for I from 68. Do I have the RIC macro in here? I don't. What I wanted here was the stage entity start macro name. I forgot what that was called. So here, stage entity start, and the reason I want that is because I want to set I to stage entity start plus 4 as opposed to the hard-coded 68. Probably not a big deal either way. But that gives other people an idea of where this is, as opposed to just a random 68. And then we're going to 144. I don't have any, the 144 is coming from this 90 here. I don't think that there's any real rhyme or reason to that number. But that will be our while loop. And so this is this actually probably is the initialization of all of the whole Richter fight. Basically, we're clearing all entities. We're destroying everything that's in 68 through 144. And it wants me to declare my variables. You do have to declare variables, just not functions. And I think SO goes away. This var S1 probably goes away as well. All right, so now we have a bunch of other data in here, and we need to figure out what that data is, why our addressing is wrong, and anything else that might be going on. I think I'm gonna, let's change this to a not step. It doesn't make a huge difference either way. It could be a switch, but I'm gonna keep it like this for now. And what I want to see is, where is this 1 coming from? It looks like this may be a divide by 2. No, I was thinking the 1. Sometimes when you have a literal value, even if it's not used, sometimes it shows up there. It may just be ordering. Not showing up. We can try getting these in order. This is probably an assignment. I think all these are in GRIC though, so let's start working out where these are. And do I have these yet? So this is going to be pulling data from the GRIC, or sorry, from the Richter entity and putting it in the Richter player state. And I get to do a bad job at finding these offsets again. But why didn't these show up as... I expected these to show up as offsets from GRIC, but they're not. So I'm going to take this. I like taking that address for my own sanity. Throwing it up here. And then I'm going to figure out what all these offsets are, which is fun for everybody. I'm trying to get my calculator on the right screen. So just taking this address, subtracting the one next to it. So this top one actually is not related. We're going to go down to the ones that are. This is 3BA. And so this is going to be 3BC. And 3BD. Oh, E. And 3C0. Now we get to go back to game.h. We got player state. 3B, it's probably actually easier to go backwards. I'm going to take 3DO. Subtract 3BA. That gets me to 16. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 14, 16. So unknown 70. So we do need a GRIC. Add that to the context. So then we can just kind of move down. This might not be right because 74 is a we're going to get to 74. This will be 72, 74 here. It's listed as an unknown 32. Unknown, unsigned 32. Let's keep going though and see. So I might have those offsets wrong. If I'm shifted one field up, that would be correct. Would not be the first time that I been off by one error. Yeah, so this should be 76, but there is no 76, so I'm going to make this a 78, and that is going to be wrong, but we'll come back and we'll figure out how wrong in a little bit. These others, not Rick with a K. These others, we don't know what they are yet, and so let's go the 314 and 316. Those are going to be part of Rick. We know some of them, but not all of them. All right, so 763. So we have step S, and let's look over here. So we need 16 bytes later. 2, 4, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 hit points. And then 2 before that is hitbox state. And I missed this one. I'm assuming that these are assigned in line. No member named hitbox state. So let's go look at what entity looks like and see if that was renamed. It possibly was. Oh, I have a capital B. And it is a lowercase b. Still not getting too close. Some register issues. This is going to be an ENet, so we don't take the reference there. So it looks like possibly we have a entity pointer that's being set up here. I'm going to try that, and we'll see if that... This actually, there's a doppelganger function, now that I'm thinking about it, that is like this. There, don't replace doppelganger with Richter. I really do mean doppelganger. We'll go look at that. But that looks better. My guess is that the ++ is up here in... Yeah, there we go. So a few of these still wrong. Let's look at these. Actually, let's go find the doppelganger version of this. So there's probably only a few places that might use stage entity start, but they also might use the hex 44. This might also be in just a header file. So what I want to find here is this. Yeah, it is in... And because I use the stage entity start, yeah, this looks very similar. Because I use that stage entity start right away, it made it easier to find. So even if I don't necessarily know the significance of that offset, I know that it's part of the stage entities, and so that kind of helps. And so we see here, this looks like a very similar function. We're initializing some entity, calling a function that we don't know the name of, but probably works very similarly to the function that we're calling here. We're doing all the same entity destruction logic. We're setting a bunch of things to hit points a little differently, setting the hitbox state. These, I wonder if they should be part of GDOP. Oh yeah, they might be. I have a, let's look at this. I have a BO4 cleanup branch. And did I fix these there? I did. So you see the same unknown 70. Here it's unknown 6E. So yeah, I might have been off by one field. But we'll see when as we get closer. So we do have a few things to deal with still. Stack is too big. I don't know how to make it any smaller. So let's try to work out the ordering here. All of these are assigned, and we see this in Doppelganger, so I'm going to move that together. That looks like it doesn't change much. So it looks mostly like ordering here. I probably have to go through and do this again and make sure that I'm finding the right fields. The ordering is not ideal. So I'm going to go back over here one more time. So here we're grabbing 6E, 6A, and 6C. That order is a little strange, but I'm going to steal it because that gives me a slightly better set of fields that I think are more accurate, but maybe not. We'll see. The 7-8 is the one that I don't like. This would become 70 then. And that changes it from a... No, it's still assigned half, or store half. So ordering issues. Let's look at this. We have a hex 90 and a hex 44. I think I have the PSP version, so we're gonna go look at that and see if we can grab that. Nope, I don't have it, so we're gonna import it. I forgot that we had started a function on Friday too that we didn't finish, and so this one should go pretty quick after I find the right ordering, and we'll go and look at that one as well. So a lot with hex 44. And so we'll also grep for hex 90. Hopefully there's a few fewer. We need XRX for that. Still a lot. The 44 and the 90 will be in the trailing position, or should be, I think. So we'll put a and a line marker there. So that gives us just 3 functions then. Let's go through those. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be the one with 2 different things. It could be, actually. Maybe that is the right one. So this one's allocating primitives, not the function that we want. I don't know if I've initialized entity. This one has destroy entity and current entity. I don't think that's the right one either. So let's hope that this is the right one. Initialize entity, that's good. And then we have destroy entity. We do have destroy entity. And we're going until we hit 90. So I think this is it. All right, so we're going to create a new scratch for that. I'm going to do a few things that I know I'm going to need. I need the grick and the rick macros. I'll throw those into the scratch. I don't need these others. Hey, Supreme Quetzal, good to have you back. And we're going to take the PlayStation version. Oops, not overwrite it. Use that as the base, and then hopefully we'll be able to figure out what's going on. And so I see one thing right away, and you have to love MetroWorks for this. We're missing a mask right here on line 10. That means that we're checking explicitly against 0 as opposed to just doing a not on the step. So that's nice to see. Have some register issues. These might be backwards. Yeah. All right, and so what I want to do is look at this decomp and see if this will help at all. So yeah, this does give me maybe a better ordering. So it looks like CAE is the order that this is being assigned. Then it looks like the shift here, this is going to be a divide by 2. You can tell it's a divide by 2 as opposed to a shift because there's extra logic around what happens if we make this negative. And that extra logic is because of the type of math that's available on the processor. And then the 0, and then the hitbox state. 2 function calls. Oh, this is interesting. So on the PlayStation, we got an extra parameter here. We don't always know what the parameters are. And the way that M2C tries to figure out what parameters are going into a function is it looks at the function signature that we give it. We didn't give it a function signature, so it has to kind of infer. And to infer, it looks at the registers that are being set. And so this said, I see the A1 register being used, but GCC used the A1 register because nothing else was, sorry, the A2 register. A2? No, A0, A1. Yeah, the A1 register. So nothing there. That's what's nice about having both of these, is that we can tell things like that. This 4C, make sure that this is the same. So this one's wrong down here. It should be this unknown 6C. And let's go back and look at how close that is now. We know that we're going to have immediate differences. That's fine. This unknown 74 looks wrong. Do we have anything like that in Doppelganger? We should go through as well and look at what the steps are. So I call these think steps for Doppelganger. Basically, when Oh, did I get that from Medusa? Somebody else worked on Medusa. I worked on a few functions there, but somebody else did most of the work there. So all of the bosses are state machines, and so at some point you need to set what state you want them to be in. This is backdash when it comes to doing the interpretation, say this doppelganger thinking or the entity doppelganger. It'll actually invoke that the way that it needs to invoke it. Spring Quetzal says, which function or code led you to think, where did these devs learn to code? It's kind of interesting because ultimately this is somebody's job, right? And for them, it probably is just a job. And I'm going to try a mod here. No. Oh, is this? Oh, multiply by 2. Sorry. Wrong window. Something else is going on here that is curious. Sometimes the code that we come up with to match is just really bizarre. Sometimes it's like so terse and optimized, and you can tell these people have been like C programmers their entire life, and they like have been reading the K&R manual since they were in the crib. Other times it's just not like that at all, and they're using, some code will be like every little bit packed into the smallest data types, and other code will be, I'm going to use a 32-bit int for a boolean, and then I'm going to use 16 of them because I have different flags. So you can just tell that there's different personalities writing this code, which is fun. Definitely fun. And then what other functions which led you to think the devs were clever or intelligent? I've talked about the 3D drawing code before. So like the clock tower, they embedded a like little interpreter in there. So much of the code I feel like is tied so tightly to the PlayStation SDK. It was obvious that they were writing a game for the PlayStation, not and probably thinking very much along the lines of like, this is a game. And now we think of like, this is art, this is history, this is a technical marvel, this is like one of the greatest games ever made. Let's do what we can to preserve it. But at the time, yeah, Richter has to use his sub weapon here. We're thinking about the game very differently than they are. This is interesting. So this was picked up, disable after image. This was picked up by the dedupe of functions on the PSP side. Likely correct. So we have another symbol name that we can implement. We can do the Richter boss fight too and start seeing what some of the behaviors are. I have this in Doppelganger though too, and didn't catch that was a duplicate. But we need to get these last few things. I'm gonna take this over, see how much closer this is. Not that much closer. This ended up being, part of it ended up being a struct on the Doppelganger side. I'm going to do this again. I mentioned that I cleaned up a bunch of this, and so it's a little different in this cleanup branch that I have. So we were going to unknown 70 for hitbox state. Hit points. This seems like kind of a what were these called? Kind of when you chain like flip-flops together, if you've done any electrical engineering. A flip-flop every time you go to a pulse, it'll change whether it's true or false. And this is kind of the same thing where if you chain those, then you can kind of see like the history of what was previously there. And that's what's happening here. We have hit points, and then they kind of cascade down as different things change, and you can kind of see, some logic can see like, okay, my hit points are lower, but when I started, were they lower? So I'm just gonna fix a few things here. All right. So getting back to the PlayStation, our stack looks good. Really, it's the ordering of some of these fields. Let's go look at that data and see if we can get a sense of what it is. Oh, it's SPSS, which stinks. SPSS is uninitialized data on the PlayStation. We have all of this present. This looks a lot, though, like what was in Doppelganger. I'm going to do a diff there for that Doppelganger again. Yeah, so I think I was off by a few bytes up here. These might be wrong. We'll see. A little strange that these are happening out of order. Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Kanai. Yeah, definitely one of the greatest games of all time. I completely agree. So I'm going back here to look at Doppelganger again. I should find this in Medusa as well and see how close this is in Medusa, because my guess is we're looking at kind of the same thing there. I'm going to see if... Oh, that was not a good... Medusa RBO3. A bunch of tile deaths. Let's look for a Destroy Entity. We'll try... Oh, self is not what we're doing. So we're not clearing entities the same way necessarily, unless that's being overwritten. Yeah, okay, so Richter works like Doppelganger, but not like Medusa. Good to know. Going back to the PSP, we'll try to figure this out. Surprisingly closer on the PSP. So 18, we're missing a mask. And so this shift right Shift right arithmetic. Maybe this is a shift by 2? Or shift by 1, I mean. And that gives us the logical shift. 74, oh, maybe we're looking at the wrong, that's it, we're looking at the wrong one. 74 might be the 32-bit. Yeah, there we go. So these, that looks like it solved it as well. These offsets are all going to be wrong, and so what I'd like to do, if this ends up working on the PlayStation, I'd like to... so it's still not a match here. I'd like to... let's move this up. Slightly better. Once I get the instructions matching, go through. All right, that's slightly better. Actually, let me undo that some more. We'll do this over on the PSP side. Kind of funny that this works out, but the offsets are wrong, and that's probably why it's working. So what I want to do here, I can't switch those. Can't switch those. Basically, it's these top values that can be switched. I don't know how. Let's try putting them in field order, which happens to be alphabetical order. That is worse. So there's two possibilities. I've wrong types or wrong data access. Let's do this. Let's say that, it could be wrong types. Let's say that 30 is an array. See if array access helps. If array access helps, sometimes that means it could be possibly struct access as well. Neither of those are working any better. And the 686 was a reference to hit points. No, it was a reference to GRIC. There is a possibility. Yeah, I agree. That's what I. Well, let's. Dizik is saying it looks like CAE. Unfortunately, on the GCC side, we have to look at the PSP really to get the ordering correct. GCC will reorder things in whatever order it wants. It doesn't care. And so it's doing the C assignment first, and then the A assignment, and then the E assignment. Yeah, so you're right, CAE, I agree. These are 4 bytes apart, just like the PlayStation ones. Thank you. probably it. That is probably it. Are you sure it's 6C though? We're at 750 here. I think it needs to be. I think it needs to be 70. So the 4E here corresponds with the 6E here. And so this would need to be 2 bytes later, which is where the 70 came from. And that 70 matches. Oh, did I close it? It matches the BO6 or BO4 version. Not saying that it has to be the same, but it likely is. This is the correct version of this line. Very top one. Oh. 6A. Yeah. 6A? These are 4A. Down here's 4A. So let's try that. Thank you. Thank you, Jizik. Appreciate it. No better. Let's look down here. Oh, and 6A. 6A is what I have over here as well. And so we have the same order, 6E, 6A, 6C. This likely is the think step. The order in these is a little strange. There's no equivalent to this RIC 72. Oh, and that's causing some issues. So let's go back here, and that was 86. Do we have another instance of that? Yes. So this is 86. It's going to be 6E. Let's try that. That's looking better. We don't see things like that. So if you have multiple reads from the same field or a write to this field, which just happened, GCC optimized will happily say, I know the value of that. It was hit points. It's still in a register. I'm going to reuse that. Unoptimized MetroWorks. MetroWorks would do that if it was optimized, but the PSP is not for these compilation units. So it just does the read again, and we don't get the benefit. So I do think that is it. These may or may not be correct. Based on Doppelganger, though, I'm pretty sure they are. So we'll go and we'll give it a shot and see. And what's nice is we have names now from some other functions that should give us an idea of what this is, or like where it fits in, I guess is probably a better way to say it. So we're going to change our common to BO6. And let's see. It worked. That was it. Thank you, Dizik. Thank you, Roaming. Always appreciate the over-the-shoulder assistance. I do want to go back and look at, since we have the PSP version exported, let's go look at the one that we were working on Friday. Was it check subweapon? Yes. So this had some just small things that we're missing. The pad pressed. How did I want to find this before? Let's see if matching was able to find. I don't think it will have found this though. Yeah. So what do we need? We definitely have player position X. We should have a... do we have a symbol for that? Might not have a symbol for that on the PSP. I need case insensitive. Okay, we do have that. What else do we need? We have these distances. Those are pretty good. So each of these, we're gonna just keep chaining our greps together. We're gonna look for 18. That got us down pretty good. We know we're not Soul Steel Orb. And we know that we have negative 18 and 18 hex, 24 and negative 24. But those are in different functions. Interestingly, this function is listed under two different names. Why, I don't know. So negative 18 distance. Oh, it is a sine 32. Let's let me do a 2's complement of that and see what our negated version is. FFE8. So let's see if any of those have FFE8 in them as well. No. All right, let's look at another one. So our pad pressed, those numbers are all different between the PlayStation and the PSP, which makes those hard, but we can convert between the two. The other one I have is this hex 50. I'm going to go with the hex 50 because that's easier. It doesn't require a lookup. So we have 3 functions that have those. So that should be, oh, and only 2 of them are adding it. Against 0, the other one is a sign less than. So that is likely the one we want. So this is going to be Rick pause, player X, player Y, Rick pause Y. I'm happy with that. Sorry, not showing the right screen. This is my grep. I knew that this is loading the immediate value, 48 plus 16, so 64? No, that's not 64 plus 16, 70. We don't want that. We want the sign less than. So that's how I found that file. So let's create a new PSP, scratch. I don't think we have primitives. That's really the only thing we need to watch out for. And I have my Richter stuff ready to go. All right, so we have a lot wrong, which is good. Good to know. Always little things that you don't expect necessarily. So we have the absolute value call here that looks right. Our item crash. Oh, so this is interesting. So kind of reminding myself of what we're doing. We're trying to find the sub-weapon ID. It looks like that's ultimately sub-weapon ID isn't chosen this way. It's chosen a different way. So let's look at M2C's version of this and see what is going on here. So we start with the else and the sub-weapon being set here. And GCC does that a lot. It's assigning the 4 to a register is cheap. And so if it thinks that it can assign that register the immediate value 4, and that this condition will more likely be false, then it saves some time. Saves the branch. No big deal there. 2, 3, 2. So our distance y is actually recalculated each time. And the PSP can tell us that, whereas the PlayStation can't really tell us what's going on there. Why? I don't know why all that is highlighting above. And my guess is the bottom is the same. Oh, we have a loop down here. That's interesting. Something we don't have down below. So we're loading the sub-weapon. Now we'll have to get back to that in a little bit, but let's look at the else here. So we have this logic duplicated in both places as well, which is also curious. And there's no return. Interesting. Let's look at the assembly. So we are moving a value into V0. Oh, I did the wrong thing. I screwed up. My bad. I gave it the wrong signature. That's why M2C doesn't know what's going on. Let's look at it now. All right, so we have some additional pointers. When we see these assignments happening to stack values, it is likely that that is what's happening. And so I'm inclined to agree that there probably is additional pointers. We have these this padding that I put in there because we needed additional stack space that GCC wasn't using, but maybe it is, and this is how it was using it. So we need a SP10. We'll call this, we have a sub-weapon already. Or are we using bar A1? Looks like we're going to need like a temp weapon. And then we need a item crash. Might rename these. I took these names and abbreviations from the previous implementation, but it's not how I would abbreviate them, so it makes my head hurt. These, now that I'm thinking about it, these actually are not. I'm going to get rid of those. I don't think those are variables. The storing them to stack pointer 10 and 20, I think is because the A0 and A1 registers are going to be reused, and so that's just MetroWorks doing that in the background and pushing those to the stack. So I don't think there's anything that I need to do there. So that's getting us down to this loop down here. And we're looping over these weapons. So we do need a pointer. And what is... We have this other... All right. I don't know what all these things are. We're gonna have weapon 1 and weapon 2. We might actually be able to get away with sub-weapon here. And then we have a I. So for I equals 5, well, I is greater than 0, I minus minus. Sub-weapon is going to equal a reference to the sub-weapon ID. And weapon is going to equal actual weapon. Maybe this is current weapon. And then we're incrementing through these. We'll see where the 8 missing bytes come from. My guess is that there are additional variables here that I just don't have yet, and we'll see if they're where they're coming from. So I need to look at what the sub-weapon def struct looks like. Sub-weapon def is much bigger. Oh, this is... No, I'm dumb. I'm dumb. So we are reading the sub-weapon here. This is this. It's not a for loop at all. And that's why it's repeated, and it looks gross, but it's not actually that gross. And GCC optimized them out to be the same thing. So let's go look and see how that is. Yeah, yeah, it's a struct copy. So 43. Is sub-weapons def not... Okay, so it might just be coming straight from here. So it looks like sub-weapon maybe. I think that I need to call this this field that global sub-weapon def. Okay, so this one is a little different down here. So this one is doing the lookup. And let's go back over here, see. Yeah, okay, so we are doing the sub-weapon ID lookup here, but not in the other case. And that's because, okay, so when we're not an item crash, we can just look up the weapon ID. Otherwise, we have to go through and we have to look up the sub-weapon ID. Got it. Got it. That makes sense. And I think this was the original item crash ID. Oh, what was it called? Crash ID. And that looks pretty good. Let's grab that. So not perfect. Distance Y goes away, but that's not going to affect anything. So you're right. We are still missing the 8 bytes on the stack. Odd. Let's give it 8 bytes on the stack. And then we're not quite a match, but we're pretty close. I do have to map the subweapon def. That's odd, +3. That's an odd offset. Let's grab this back and see if PSP is okay with us throwing padding. Yeah, PSP don't care about padding. It's interesting to see how the different compilers do different things. So GCC says, if you put padding on the stack, I'm going to take your padding on the stack. And MetroWorks says, you're not using that. I'm not going to allocate that. So I do think that I'm going to need... we can get rid of this player XY. That's not a thing. I don't think most of these globals are a thing anymore. So we'll clear out as many of those as possible. I think that this is going to be wrong. Is this math correct? No, that is correct. I feel like something is not right there. So we're looking up the subweapon ID. Why wouldn't we look that up in the same array? Does that make sense to look up in the same array? And that grows our stack by 8 to do that. Why? Why does it grow our stack by 8? Because. And do we have the same +3 offset here? We have +13 offset and +10 offset. So that tells me that we actually are 10 bytes earlier than this. 10 hex. So we just have to note that when mapping that symbol. So let's go do that. Oh, that's why the PSP is glorious. It tells you all the things. Whispers the sweet secrets of Symphony of the Night. So I think that we're 16 bytes before this. And we can look at this address and just double check that something somewhere references this address as is instead of with some offset. So does this look like it could be subweapon defs? So DC we were looking at actually at CC. And yeah, I think so. So basically this is saying it's actually starting at CC, and this probably is one subweapon def size later, give or take. So let's try that. So we're going to look for the check subweapon function. Right, and we'll see how good or bad this ends up going. Just getting rid of all the unnecessary globals. I'm completely expecting this to possibly some of the addresses to be wrong, but they were right. What do you know? All right, so they were right. Yeah, my assumption about that being shifted over earlier by 16 bytes was correct. So that one's done as well. That's good. So let's, what time is it? I'm getting through things. Let's play the game. So what I want to see is, oh, do I want to update DuckStation now? Sure. Nope, too slow. It was going surprisingly slow. What I want to see, actually I have a nice save right here. I'm gonna end up blowing it away. I want to see what the starting behavior is for Richter, and we can break at his first function. Let's find my DuckStation capture. So we're going to go to the CPU debugger, and I'm going to look for this AC4 function. So I'm going to go back. I think my state, I'm hoping from the beginning of July. Okay, so this is, yeah, right before the Richter boss fight. I need to map my controller. Oh, controller. Oh, I need to plug my controller in. I use my laptop in headless mode, and I don't have my controller plugged into my docking station. Alright, so my controller's SDL1 now. Let's grab that. Oh, why aren't you working? I feel like this happens from time to time, where DuckStation just doesn't want to grab controller input. I'm gonna restart it and see if it'll grab controller input. And I don't know why. I don't know why that is. Wrong thing. try it one more time. All right. So I need to come back in. I don't think that I think that Richter's still in this version. I'm going to go back to my cheats. Where are our cheats? And disable the hitboxes. Where's my cheat window? I don't have it disabled for font print, so we'll just go with it. I also don't have anything to... Yeah, okay, so we'll get to the Richter boss fight. So we're loading in the Richter boss fight now, and we're going to go to the cutscene. The cutscene's going to run. But so we're now in a different overlay. So this looks the same as Castle Keep, but it is this BO6 overlay that we're working on. They just have duplicated all of the assets. And I apologize, I don't have a finished game save file. Okay, so the first thing that Richter does is does his item crash. I should just hit pause here. He does his item crash for the cross sub-weapon. From what I remember, he has all the sub-weapons available to him, and he doesn't have any hearts, so he can do whatever he wants whenever he wants. So that's what we're going to be looking for pretty early on, is where's the logic and what step is it that Richter does the cross. I'm actually going to go back, and we're going to... I don't remember specifically if this is the way it was. Others who maybe have played the game more recently than me, especially this section, whether you know whether or not Richter always starts with the cross crash. Okay. Oh, I restarted. I need to do this as well. I restarted, and now I don't have my breakpoint anymore. I'm going to add my breakpoint back. And we might have already hit it already, so I'm going to not only do that. Yeah, we hit it already. I'm going to go back to load that one more time. And it definitely is possible that we hit that address. Yeah, we could turn that back on. So I do have, and we can watch that. This will work for when we load the boss overlay as well. It'll work there as well. Kind of cool to see it counting down to getting into the room. Oh, why isn't it loading? We've already hit the breakpoint. So we're here coming in. What do we want to know about this? So kind of stepping through, we expect this first condition to be true. And so we're going to eventually hit a JAL instruction where we jump into initialize entity, and that should initialize Richter. And I don't recall I don't think BO4 Doppelganger 10 had a name for this. Then we're going to go through and we're going to destroy everything, so we still haven't done any of that work yet. And then really it's this function down here, B78. That's probably the next one we want to look at, because I think that that is the function that determines what Richter is going to do next. Yeah. So the first time we come through, and maybe not, it still might be an initialization function. It could be one of these 4 functions down here that does that work. Possibly this 2C. I'm going to put a breakpoint. Well, we'll get to that. That's probably worth doing tomorrow. So what I want to see is the item crash going to happen? We can kind of step through, but we've already seen what this does. We have our jump and link down to initialize entity. Further down, we should have another jump and link for the destroy entity. And we're not going to break on any of those. We're just going to keep going. So when we get past the cutscene, oh, and we have all the think steps here. Oh, this is brilliant. So we have them all printed out, and we can see them. Did I do this for Doppelganger? Yeah, I must have done this for Doppelganger. It's been 6 months or so I don't remember all the details. But we have the bat step too, which is funny. Tama step. I don't know what that is, but he's going to start with cross crash, just like he did before. His think step is 10, so that must be the step for doing cross. We'll get out of the way. But now we can watch as I fail greatly to beat Richter. Oh, and I can't wing smash. It doesn't matter if I beat him or not, because we get the bad ending if we beat him. But we can watch through all the steps. So 32 must be the step for defeating me unceremoniously. Oh, thank you, roaming. Thank you, roaming. Thank you, dig down deep. I appreciate it. You missed. That's it. Nothing else. Ending the stream. No, I'll do it again. I hit my my Safari button and it turned into. I expected Decomp.me to come up, or sorry, Taxation to come up. So 13 is waiting on the cutscene. It'll be interesting to see what bat eye step is, because obviously Richter can't turn into a bat. But I can. We can see him cycle through all of his steps. I have my own item crash, Richter. And not enough hearts to do again. But yeah, then we're back at 32. If anybody knows Japanese, you could tell me what Tama means in Japanese. Will the Google tell me? It can mean jewel ball or soul spirit. Not sure what that means in regard to Richter. But we will eventually we'll find out. So again, a little bit more of the Richter puzzle coming into view. Little things, like always, little things end up being trickier than expected. But as we get more data types, as we get more, you can tell you're going to go into the Richter fight because it doesn't scroll anymore. Any additional scrolling is going to trigger the overlay load. You can tell that from the pause. But yeah, we'll see what's next. Ooh, isn't there a jewel for Shaft? You're right. You are right. Thank you, Krillin. I didn't even think of that. So if we had holy glasses, that Tama step probably would change. Perfect. Sorry for the off topic, but did you notice that disabling read-write breakpoints didn't work and they still executed? What do you mean by still executed? So currently I don't have anything enabled. These are all execute breakpoints though. This is a question from iWillCraft on YouTube. The read breakpoints, are you talking about specifically a DuckStation issue or something that was just happening during the stream? I have had issues in the past where I thought that breakpoints, so this display as well, this breakpoints display doesn't always seem to be in sync with the actual set of breakpoints that DuckStation is tracking. And so I have had issues where I thought I disabled something and it still is triggering. But I can't remember in the last couple months having any issues though with read-write breakpoints. Very cool though. This will be fun. I haven't. Once you get the holy glasses, I'll try to go back and create a save state with holy glasses. I'm pretty sure I don't have them in my inventory. I can't get through this right now. Once I have them in my inventory, we can go through basically both sides of this fight pretty easily. Because as long as you don't have them equipped, I think you still get the bad ending. And yeah, I don't really have anything here. Is it under? Yeah. Sunglasses is not going to work, but I will look cool. So I'll go do that. I'll find the holy glasses or just tweak my inventory to include those, and we'll go back through that later on. But I think that's probably where I'm going to stop for today. This will be fun, I think. I think a lot of these functions are going to be very similar to Doppelganger, but also similar to Richter, like we've seen. And hopefully this goes much faster than Doppelganger did, now that we have all that information. And maybe only a month or two for this one, as opposed to like the slog that Doppelgangers were. We've been decompiling Symphony of the Night. If you want to know more about that project, go to soten.z.dev, and you'll find a link to GitHub with the code that we've decompiled on the stream. The Richter code, I still want to do some additional preliminary work on that overlay before submitting a PR to get that in there. And so it'll be maybe a week or two before I upload this stuff. But it'll get there eventually. Also find a link to Discord, and we're chatting about various things. It's been a little quiet in Discord. I think people are still on summer break. And it was this way last summer as well. I think people will get back into it in the coming months. Oh, interesting. Thanks, iWillCraft. So, iWillCraft on YouTube is saying, sorry, I don't have the YouTube comments still on screen, that there were read-write breakpoints triggering. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen behavior like that, but there definitely was times where, breakpoints did not seem to be enabling or disabling as I wanted. I still want to get GDB server stuff working well. There's a couple things there. So I think it would be totally awesome to be able to step through some of the code we've rewritten once we have the debugger in place. And DuckStation does support GDB server. The the couple issues that I've run into, Splat strips out the debug information. And so for whatever reason, it's not part of the set of like included segments that it wants to keep. And there was something, I believe, code-wise, it wasn't just a configuration change. It had to be a code change to fix that. I still think that would be fun, especially when you get to modding and other things like that, to be able to step through your code through DuckStation. But we'll get to that. Discord, go there, soden.z.dev. I'm a contributor. Like, subscribe, do all the things. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, tell anybody who will listen to come decompile with us. That's all I got. Adios.